did you not know? Championship, about to win a Super Bowl. Fans in the stand, love it when I'm in the dome. Touchdown dance, celebrating cause I'm home. Fleeks on my feet, running routes all day. Shotgun, wildcat, I know all the play. Could've been a quarterback, just put me in the game. I was born a champion and I just want the ring. MVP, I'm the best on the list. You can join the team cause we headed to the ship. Hey, you looking at the champ. Hey, you looking at the champ. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. Hey, all I do is win. All I do is win. You looking at a champ and we going to the ship. We going to the ship. We going to the ship. Hey, all we do is win. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. Hey, all I do is win.
You're looking at a C-H-A-M-P. Every time I do it, make it look easy. Better be prepared when you come for me. Don't talk me to death, you know that stuff cheap. I go hard on the west, I go hard on the east. It don't really matter either way, I'ma eat. You know I do numbers, 1, 2, 3, count on me like work easy. I can do it in my sleep, I do not know defeat. Championship rings on my hand, go bling in games when I please. Good night, R.I.P. Ain't no OT. You are not a champ, boy, you don't wanna be.
You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. Hey, all I do is win. All I do is win. You looking at a champ and we going to the ship. We going to the ship. We going to the ship. Hey, all we do is win. You looking at a champ. You looking at a champ. Hey, all I do is win.
This is like the perfect day to catch the sun and dance away. All my friends right by my side, they're lighting up the darkest night. Now they play our favorite song. Everybody sing along. The sunlight makes me smile. My friends are dropping by. No one will break my stride. This is a good time, I'm feeling fine.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2020. I'm Atlas, joined by LS once again. And I just want to say we're sorry for yesterday. The LCK is better than that, and we will improve as the weeks go on. It was a rough one for all of our teams that played yesterday, and today we've got teams coming to prove to us that the LCK is a top-tier region, and we don't need to worry. All right, we've got the telecom war to start things off, the, well, old telecom war. What does the telecom war now mean, now that T1 is theoretically Comcast and SKT, which is two telecom companies? Are they double the telecom now? Do KT not stand a chance? Or do they already not stand a chance based on the rosters?
That's a good question. That is a good question, Alice. And you know what? I don't have the answer for you.
I don't think anyone does.
I don't think anyone does either.
I don't even know like how you're supposed to power rank these two teams either. It's,
well, I think T1 is absolutely favored.
Are they?
But there is a thing called draft.
Oh.
And
he was just glancing at the script, by the way. He's
to,
going easy mode. LS is going easy mode. You've been ignoring the script so long this season.
Not to use the D word, but...
Well, I mean, that's not the only apology that we have. We, in fact, had a bit of an issue with the player of the game. Bring it up here on your screen. This is what UCal's and Viper's play of the game stats were yesterday. So Viper was player of the game for the first win for Griffin.
Yes.
And was on stage, gave that interview. But unfortunately, there was a mistake with the Korean casters when they sort of got asked for who the MVP was. They reported to over comms like who it was, and they said Varus. And then unfortunately, the person who took down that was like, Varus, that's a bot lane champion.
Yeah.
And then put bot, but unfortunately, it's mid. So there was a little bit of a mistake there. It should have been double MVPs to UCal last night, but It has been rectified now, but we'd really like to apologize to all of you for the confusion and to any of the fans of Viper that now are like, well, what? He's lost his MVP points now?
Look at the swing vote in media.
Well,
There it was.
That's
The
it
RNG.
right there. Yeah, I'm not sure what that random Tarzan vote was.
What was that?
That like when we brought the initial graphic up,
That's
I
the
feel
jungle
like
main.
really it should have been like we're really sorry for that one guy that voted for the Crackers, because that definitely shouldn't have been it.
All right, well,
But anyway, yes, we are getting straight into it. We had a look at the schedule first, and these are going to be the points of the match. First Telecom War of 2020. It's good to see that the Korean side, at least of the broadcast, still coins this as the Telecom War, even though teams have slightly changed. You can see the little SK Telecom underneath T1, so it is still the Telecom War that we know and love, but very different when it comes to the teams involved.
and it's also mentioning that KT is a Game 1 powerhouse where they've consistently, well, there are series that have been interesting to say the least. And remember,
I
they
like
also
how you had to temper what you were
Yeah, I
saying
had
there just
to-
a little bit.
to layer that up a little bit. As looking at player of the match here, Kuro versus Faker.
And this is probably one of the most storied matchups in Korean League of Legends history. I know that's a big call to make, but Kuro versus Faker goes back to the Coup Tigers days. This goes all the way back to when they were able to make that historic Rocks Tigers run and disrupt what was almost the unbeatable SKT lineup that just blitzed through those few years.
The other thing about it is that 2018, 2019, that was really a changing point actually in Kuro's career where he stopped being the mid laner who wouldn't kill you, but you wouldn't kill him.
Yep. He stopped being
And-
that sort of mediating force and
Yes,
started
yes, yes.
to actually carry games himself.
And it was a really big turning point. And I remember having that discussion with a lot of pro players that played in Korea.
Yep.
That Kuro had a very large change as a player, and they didn't really know what to attribute it to because it's not very common that a player is around as long as Kuro and then dramatically changes their entire approach to the game and how they conduct themselves.
Yeah, and it's really cool watching his evolution, because even when he was over playing for LGD in the last year where we had to say goodbye to Kuro, it was very depressing. Now finally he's come back so we can be happy again. But he was also a carry force for LGD as well while he was over there, getting a lot of player of the games himself for the LPL. So looking forward to seeing what he can do here for KT, and I'm just excited to see Kuro versus Faker back on the Rift once again, especially surrounded by so many new faces. As you can see, the stats pretty similar. We're going to check out some of the highlights here, though, as KT Game 1 wonders. And that's what happens when you pick up 3 members of, I think, 2017, if I'm not mistaken, of Freak of Freaks, because they were literally perfect Game 1, and then lose the series.
Yeah,
For the majority of their games, it
we're
was
looking
really bad.
at KT right now against another team that's going to end up playing here tonight,
Yeah.
as well as KT. A little bit unfortunate in some parts of the game, and I really feel like also the way that both of these teams have been drafting, I keep saying the D word, and I'm going to continue to keep saying the
That's
D word.
allowed. That's allowed, because now we're talking about T1, and I think that it's going to be another time where
T1.
the D word's going to be very relevant.
Plagues themselves with drafts, and honestly, there's no other way to put it. This was Faker's narrow escape of the minions that were trying to make that a 1-for-1 trade. As Superplex goes in by Roach, and
I actually really liked seeing Cuz on his Gragas as well. I think we're going to be looking towards that as being a big pickup for this next matchup against KT. But honestly, this champion that you can see on your screen right here, the Elodios, that did not a lot other than die in that particular moment, piloted by Nuclear, but I think it will be a big pickup here in this game, because Teddy's been playing it, he's been playing well, but aiming has had some of our best performances on the Aphelios so far. Even if they do have a 2-4 record, these are two teams that have had double series go all the way to all 6 games. And if you have a look at who T1 have faced, it's been Humble Life and Dumb One Gaming, whereas KT have gone against Dragon X and Gen G, arguably two of our, top 3, top 4 teams at the moment. Dragon X yet to prove that to us. They will be able to against Harmwell Life at the end of the day. I think that will be a really big temperature check for both of these rosters. But I think the run for KT has been arguably more difficult than that of T1.
It really has so far, and this will be, I think, an interesting dynamic for them to go up against. So probably not going to feel super pressured up there in the top lane, and we'll also take a look at what kind of champion pool Kuro is actually going to utilize here in mid, because I feel like that can heavily influence.
We did notice that Kuro currently has a 12-1 Varus record, and we watched Yukal not die on the champion last night. He got back-to-back MVPs with an asterisk at the end.
Yeah.
You look at the VOD, he didn't. But if you listen to us, he certainly did. As we welcome our players onto the stage, the first telecom war of 2020. SKT brought in a new telecom company to make sure that they had a 2-to-1 ratio of telecoms against KT to guarantee the telecom war victory. Whether that is actually going to work out here is yet to be determined, but I'm excited to find out, because this KT roster, they've been able to surprise in game ones. If they can't do it against T1, then maybe that's going to tell us more about T1 than otherwise in other matchups.
Tushin aiming Kuro, Bono, and so on is going to be the starting lineup for today.
Yep, yet to see Ray up towards the top side. Sowan has been the stalwart top laner for KT, at least for the LCK.
Ray's been doing a lot of the unorthodox stuff in solo queue, which is really
that.
Surprising that he hasn't come in.
Well, we'll see whether it's Sowan that can pilot the Soraka to victory. As speaking about top lane, Canna will be starting here. No Roach in game 1 for T1. Cuz, Faker, Teddy, and Effort will, of course, round out this roster. Otherwise, very, very solid with how this team has been going. But it's been the top lane that's been plaguing them. And honestly, I feel like this has been a story for T1 for so many years. The top lane seems to either be where they win or where they lose. And Khan was a bit of a loose cannon. You look back at Marin, he was a bit of a loose cannon, but also a World's MVP. Like, you just never really know what to expect from this squad. I mean, Impact is another one who's now, of course, over in North America, but was a world champion himself. And then lots of others down the line as we get into ban and pick for our first Telecom War of 2020.
See how they're going to start this thing off. Here's what we're looking for, Atlas. We're looking for no Lucian bans.
No Lucian bans.
No Lucian bans. No Elise bans.
Well, look, so far the Rek'Sai's been banned, so I guess that's better than the Elise ban. Don't pack up your things just yet, though. We've still got a few more bans to come through.
Put my shoes back on.
Your shoes are back on?
No, I'm putting them back on.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, well.
The Gragas is also a really smart one, showing that they're actually going to be pinching Cuz rather than necessarily banning away Rek'Sai, because it's a strong champion, and I think this does add relevance to the Rek'Sai ban. The Soraka ban, though, is utter genius.
Yep. Soraka, it's finally really nice to see teams banning that on red side. It is a B1 pick.
Oh.
And, okay, well, that is a very heavy pinch.
And KT have been watching T1's social media recently, because Cuz has been popping off on the Karthus. He's been playing many a game, getting many a kill, and surprising even himself with the amount of damage that he's capable of. So good to see that KT have done their research, but sad to see that we're not going to be experiencing that
do they
on the broadcast.
Elise?
No, they B1 Aphelios. Or Set.
Well,
KT
with the way that they've been banning the jungle,
Akali was left up. Okay. And this is a very different Akali pick than the one we saw last night. The Akali pick that we saw last night was from APK. They had Ixu, who's not necessarily expected to be an Akali player. And they also had a rookie mid laner that looked very uncomfortable on the pick. Now, KT can double flex this very, very comfortably, as Aphelios and Set are both locked in here for T1.
So the Set's already picked into one champion that isn't a real target for him. and also is quite good against Set as well. Whenever Set tries to go for the haymaker, Akali just says, actually, I'm on the other side of you.
The thing that I'd be scared about for T1 if they didn't pick the Set, though, is if KT just, like, second round blue side picks it, and then they have Akali Set as their solos, and that is quite frightening to go up against, and very flexible, so you still might get followed into either lane. But I do understand what you're talking about. The Aphelios pinch is certainly a great one, though, against aiming.
And MF already picked up. I would imagine that KT would pick a jungler in first rotation, given the way that they've banned out. It's going to be the Jarvan.
An interesting priority pick, but not as interesting if you factor in the fact that it's Bono. I mean, likely that he would have gone to the Olaf, decides not to here, and is going to instead pick away a Cuz champion rather than pick a champion for himself. And this, what it's done, is made sure that there are 4 champs that Cuz can't play, and if this Nautilus gets locked in, there might be 6 champions that Cuz can't play.
Let's see if KT does continue to keep pinching. Now, the Jarvan is already dissuading an Olaf pick. And we'll see if KT actually allocates a ban towards Lee Sin or something of that nature.
Lee Sin Elise is what I'm expecting if they continue to go down the jungle route.
As Leona is going to end up biting the dust by T1. And LeBlanc now going to be banned away by KT. Now, purely in a vacuum. LeBlanc doesn't really serve a purpose with the 3 champions that are present on T1, all things considered. And now Rumble ends up getting banned away, so they want to remove the Jarvan Rumble combo.
Yeah, and all that flexibility that Rumble does provide as well. So you can, of course, switch between support top and mid, given what KT already have put together. Last ban here on KT's side, they decided not to go towards the jungle with their first ban. Elise could be taken away here if they would like, but Sejuani is going to be the choice. Interesting.
And there's the Lee Sin that we were mentioning as a champion that we thought could just be banned away. Now a swap over to Diana. Now, Diana and Set both remain as flexes. Diana also able to go into the jungle, even though she doesn't see her buff coming until 10.4, and we're currently on 10.2. So
it's a while.
Yeah.
Bit of a wait for that one.
And you know what? I actually really like what KT just did. They recognize all of T1 is short range, except for Aphelios when he has this green gun. And they're all champions that have to come into you, engage, and Cassiopeia just, she eats it for breakfast. The miasma.
And also Cataclysm Miasma is such a great combo. Looks like Tucson is playing with a few options, decides not to go Tahm Kench, not to go Braum, and picks Thresh instead. So that is, he's constantly making steps upwards, and I like it a lot. It's hooks versus hooks on the bottom side, Nautilus versus Thresh. The final pick here, Faker going back to a favorite, potentially. These are 2 champions with SKT skins, by the way, as the Syndra is the last pick for T1.
They end up picking the Syndra because you can't go with the Ryze into KT's team composition because, again, you would all be walking into Cassiopeia, and she'd be like the magic card, Wrath of God almost, or as I like to call her, Settle the Wreckage. But T1, now with the AP mid, AP jungle, is going to make it easier for KT to itemize and rune, especially because you don't need to really worry about Set in terms of itemization, as yet again, Set, no targets on KT realistically with his R. There's no one that you really want to R or that you can R and instantly have value on the side of KT, except for maybe pulling the Thresh into the backline, where then he's not going to be as useful. You can land onto the MF, and then you can try to blow her up, but T1, it feels like they really lost control on R4, R5. Whether or not that's going to be enough to stop them from winning, I don't know, but I would really favor KT's draft.
Well, we'll see what KT can actually do with the draft. They have the coveted Akali pick that we saw lose horrendously yesterday, but could come back. We had one fan on Reddit that said that APK Prince looked like a godly team. So we'll see whether this performance on the Akali will be the same as that, and it was just the champion and not the team. Certainly very passionate over there. It was great to see, because APK struggling for fans at the moment. This team on your screen, however, not. And we'll see whether they can make these the abundance of fans happy tonight with a victory over KT, but they will have to prove it all on the Rift, because with his Diana jungle, can he make things happen? So here we go into game one. Telecom War 2020 Spring. Akali was left available. Soan lapped it up. Expected for it to go to Soan. I don't think we spoke about this enough in the draft, but Soan was certainly a top lane Akali player last year on Hanwha. And so good to see him back with the reins. As Cassiopeia, you saw it in the opening graphic. Kuro, yep. Pretty large win rate. Not as large as Faker's, of course, but certainly a pretty large win rate there. And this is a storied matchup of Cassiopeia versus Syndra. An oldie but a goodie.
And the interesting thing here, we take a look at the runes, and Faker with a bit of a peculiar rune, and so is Kuro actually, both of them taking Scorch, even though neither of these team compositions are early game. So definitely a bit of an eyebrow raiser to not just have Gathering Storm on both, and Kuro's going to have the leg up in this regard. Heal on Faker, as opposed to the teleport that Kuro has. Other thing to notice as well is the phase rush on the Syndra. A lot of players have been taking phase rush and going GLP blindly lately in solo queue in every region. NA, EU, and KR. But there's usually certain variables that need to be present in order for you to do this. And fortunately, for T1 and Faker, those variables have been met. Lots of melee champions on the side of KT that are very prone to getting slowed. Easy access for Faker to go into GLP, have an earlier wake up inside of the game, and then get a lot of value out of both the item and the rune.
Well, bit of a face crack there from Canner as Soan skips out of the sweet spot of the Haymaker. It's been a while since we've seen Set. I believe we didn't get one, other than on the ban list yesterday, to get back into the rhythm. I often don't get the face break. I think it's face breaker is the one where you pop the two people together.
Yeah, I think that's its name.
I think it's face break. I say face smash.
And
I say all sorts of just different causing violence towards someone's face, I guess, is how I explain the ability. And I apologize to anyone that's that's got a bit of OCD and needs the right skill name to be said, because I am going to get it wrong today, and you'll just have to bear with me. So maybe when he presses that ability button, just like toggle the mute, so that you're going to be okay.
The way that Faker's playing the laning phase right now, Kuro should acknowledge that he's not achieving that much. He can hard crash that wave and just recall into Darksteel plus Control Ward if he would want. But he's actually just playing it very slow. Faker still has the Control Ward as well. And when you have the teleport, generally you want to play an econ game against the opponent.
Yep.
Rather than trying to kill them outright, acknowledge that you're down a combat summoner spell, and instead try to play a game centered around the economy and creating freezes, things that basically attack their mana pool and force them out of lane, and then utilizing the XP lead to your advantage or the superior stats from items.
Yep, and also just being able to utilize that extra advantage to then possibly go for a kill, right? Like, there's no point in doing it until you've just gleaned what is already just a lead that's available for you on the table if you play things right. Kuro just going to clear out this wave. Not sure where that Q was going. Just getting his eye in for now, I guess.
And Kuro's lane state is still pretty okay. Now remember, Faker has a lot more mana than what is currently being displayed on the screen. He has 2 Corrupting Potions, has Double Biscuit as well. And Soan is just doing completely fine up in top lane, as the Diana, she is a jungler that just tends to go from point A to point B.
She can tear through the jungle, maybe not at the very early game, but eventually Pale Cascade plus some extra attack speed that you can pick up from itemization just gives you a whole lot of AoE, so you can clear through your chickens really fast. And get yourself around this map. So far, Aiming and Tucson playing pretty far back. And remember, guys, KT are the Game 1 wonders. If they lose this game, it's saying some really rough things for KT. So far, they're ahead by about 300, just given their lane positions. And a lot of it has to do with Soan towards the top side, who's been farming very well against Canna, who does have a relatively stacked lane. And that 5-point strike did not go in the correct position as Soan doesn't reactivate.
And the thing,
Shuriken backflip. Ooh. Ow. That one hurt him.
Soan is doing a pretty good job as Bono up here knows what roughly the clear is now going to be of Cuz. And want to point out the Sork penetration boots versus the Tear of the Goddess currently in mid lane. He gets the Sork pen boots mostly in anticipation for the second blue buff. By the time he ends up running out of his sustain via the corrupting potions, second blue buff will eventually come up, and then he'll pick that up and sustain with that into Lost Chapter. Tushin almost getting a Latios, but not quite.
Yeah, if there was a Calibrum actually, and the Q had landed, Tucson was just straight up dead. But thankfully for him, Teddy forgot to collect the correct guns from the Ether. And it won't be a first blood, but it is going to be first flash in the bottom lane. So Tucson not going to be able to use that for playmaking. We'll see whether that affects what the farm numbers are going to look like as this game continues, because a lot less power going to be present there. Cuz making his way towards top side while Bono is taking this Cloud Drake. Cloud Drake being our first dragon does add to the excitement levels, because it's likely we don't get a more boring Dragon Soul. Bono takes himself a lantern to get out, doesn't even have to expend the mana. Thank you very much, Tucson, for that one.
You can see Syndra trying to trade right now.
Kuro
Ever
looks
so slightly.
comfortable, though.
Yeah.
Not taking a lot of damage here from Faker.
And the counter pick in mid not really working out that much. Cassiopeia being ahead is definitely surprising, and also Faker's mana management a little strange, to say the least. Still does have the 3 biscuits, though.
I guess they had to sort of play around where Akali was going still, because you can switch Cassiopeia and Akali into top and mid very easily. So I assume making sure that Canna's matchup isn't awful is the plan, as yeah, solo laners for KT doing well. Canna eventually getting up, as he's going to go and check a blue buff. Just Scryers blooms his way over.
I'm not sure how many minions have been missed by Faker, or how many might be present in front of him right now, but that is definitely a couple of minions of zoned XP. And so on, he's moving like he's got hip trouble against some of these haymakers.
Yeah, it's not necessarily working, is it? As Soan does pick up his weapon and just takes another one straight to the face. You do get, now, okay, so it's not 10-3 yet, and therefore, it's not decaying movement speed on first cast of the Twilight Shroud. You get it as you jump back in, you know? Like, you just constantly zip it. So Soan, utilize it to run out of the way of haymakers. That's why you use that ability. Now, Tucson and Aiming, they move up towards the top side. Soan does have the perfect execution if he wants to use it.
Now, this is the thing
we got to lock him down.
I always talk about is you rotate to the Herald, you pull the laners away from their lanes, and then you end up missing out on CS. So that was one minion wave that just crashed into the turret. So that's the Rift Herald value. If you end up giving up 2 plates, and now this entire minion wave, the gold that you gain from the Herald it just balances out. It evens out, and you pulled your bot lane away to do this. And so it doesn't even matter right now if KT...
Oh, they got cannon experience, though. That is probably
That is valuable. But even if they use this Rift Herald now to get 3 turret plates, it's not a net win. So it's a very bizarre thing where people get trapped into the mindset of it's an objective.
Yeah.
And
look, Shelly is an objective.
Okay.
She's great.
Tell me about it. Break it down.
You just don't need to invest all of those resources if you don't need to.
Okay.
That's what I was sort of thinking. But maybe, you know, there was an opportunity that KT could use the pushing wave topside in order to get themselves a surprise gank onto Canna or something like that. That opportunity didn't arise. And, oh, he avoided the sweet spot this time. It's fantastic. Aftershock, gonna proc and helps Canna out. As he has built towards the magic resist. Soan will have his Gunblade relatively soon, and as this wave crashed back, I mean, the plates were relatively equalized. I don't know whether they'll be able to get all of them, but very close to picking up a second, as Cuz now will be jumping over to find a control ward in the next little while.
So it looks like Cassiopeia is actually going into Abyssal Mask as her first item. So a bit of a spin on traditional itemization. Yeah, it's not that bad when you consider that it's going to be very valuable against the Diana and against the Nautilus.
And with Canna showing the Aftershock, it'll most likely be a more tanky set.
Yeah.
So they just need to kill Teddy to get rid of the physical damage. As Effort goes golden, Sentry is down. Teddy has optimal guns right now as the bullet time comes in. Effort going to go down very low, but Aftershock, so much value right there. And Aiming still desperately trying to find a kill, but they had to say goodbye to Bono. They won't be able to get it.
Bono ended up dying there. And so that's going to be first blood going the way of T1. They're now up 1,000 gold, 40 seconds until the Ocean Dragon.
Now, I was going to talk about this earlier, and I sort of have to talk about it now, but I think today, this game would have been a great one for Bono to go the Warrior Jarvan instead of the Cinderhulk. He has decided to go Cinderhulk though, so there is another target that Set can look for as far as maximizing that damage. It's a great hook from Tucson, but a really good stopwatch from Effort, and Moonlight Vigil doing some pretty silly things here for Teddy.
I mean, Cataclysm was never cast. Had it been cast on Effort, he would have died. I just have no idea what Bono was doing. Diana came over and...
Bono? Okay. Teddy going to be put into the Cataclysm. Bono's pretty tanky right now as Tucson taking a lot of damage, takes the Lantern, but Bono once again going to be dead. Golden is Tucson and so on. Looks for the perfect execution, but gets face broken and can't actually complete. Secondary ultimate going to be used just to escape, as now Kuro is in the back of a dragon pit and he really doesn't want to be. Tucson, throw him a dang Lantern. He doesn't have the cooldown. He's waiting for it. Kuro, yeah, he gets out. I would have yelled at them just for a little while, but no, he didn't actually have that cooldown available, and they let him live. I don't know whether they'll do that next time, and T1 have themselves a big lead now at 12 minutes.
And about a 2,000 gold advantage. They pick up the Ocean. It's going to be Infernal. Now, the champions for KT haven't really come online yet. Cassiopeia still...
Oh, okay. Tucson gets picked.
Well,
the playback does come in here as now Bono's going to find the knock-up, and that is just a bait. And Teddy is going to have to run for the hills. No mana, but no worries after the flash. Almost a double kill for KT back on the board.
And Diana has a shutdown.
It's Infernal Soul as well. So this is some exciting stuff. As Cuz, yeah, if he dies and Aiming picks up the kill, then it could be very scary for T1 fans. That is a few variables that are going to be hard to meet, especially in a controlled environment for KT. Let's have a look at this one once again and watch for where Kuro goes and how he gets caught.
I have no idea what Bono is trying to accomplish right there or what he's trying to do. I wish I had an answer for you, Atlas, but it just doesn't really matter. And Kana having that Aftershock, really tanky, so on, not able to do anything. Kuro stuck inside of the pit.
And he yelled at the back of the dragon.
He did.
And then T1 just let him just chill. So I don't know. That was a bit strange. And this is just Tucson getting a really good play. Aftershock paying off. Even got the damage value. And Teddy, not enough follow-up. Bono in the right place at the right time.
So about 1,500 gold lead right now for T1. And Syndra almost has that GLP Essence Reaver completed as well for Teddy. Runic Echo on Cuz. We'll have to see what his second item is going to be. Is it just going to be the Zanya's Hourglass? As still Gunblade and Abyssal Mask going to be a little bit late to complete here on the side of KT. And this wasn't a very action-packed early game. Not a lot of plates going down.
No, not really. And also, I find it interesting, I mean, the Abyssal Mask is great, theoretically, for an extended laning phase, because Kuro negates both the jungler and mid laner with the magic resist.
Hold on. Where did Rift Herald go?
Oh, that's a good point. Bottom lane?
Did it dissipate when he died?
Maybe it was used bottom lane, and then they went for that fight, and we missed it. That could be it, because there are a lot of plates that went down. Like, this turret's very low.
I do believe that we need a lifeline right now.
Yeah. Can we do a phone a friend?
Can we
phone a friend? Producers, if you're listening, if you could just write it on our screen. What happened here is, oh my goodness, just walked into a hook. Teddy gets a free kill onto aiming, and that was special delivery. Kuro's also here.
What is Kuro doing?
Not entirely sure, to be honest, LS. This is bad news bears. He yells excitedly, but that is going to be to his own demise, as now Ward goes in. Bono goes more aggressively than Faker was expecting. And someone's wondering what the heck the rest of his team's doing. Very odd series of events.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe the Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events that did just unfold there in the bottom lane, as Akali is still just playing ping pong here with Kana. I mean, they both have their core item completion for sure upon recall. So I'm just trying to layer the minions. Let's take a look at this one more time. Aiming is just...
He was stunned. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was a little bit rude, but Teddy landing the grab at him Q, able to lock him down. And Kuro, that was not the teleport that you wanted to channel. But you can't cancel him anymore, and sometimes if you believe, then things can be good. As Teddy, finds the stun, Calibrum and Gravitum. The lockdown potential of that particular combo for the Aphelios very strong, and does reap the rewards immediately. As Shirley going to be the next one. As Shelly confirmed was actually unleashed upon the Rift.
Well, KT are rotating to get it right now. They're down 4,000 gold though, so.
And Effort going for the steal. We'll see whether he can, as he has actually bullied the rest of T1 out of the way. Eventually, Cataclysm does come down, as there it is. Bono going to dash straight back in, as the perfect execution will help grab one of the kills, but now T1's here. Haymaker comes down. Kuro once again going to die as Kaz misses the Q, and now Aiming's looking for the damage, but there's the scat of the week from Faker. Locks him down. Moonlight Vigil going to be flashed from Aiming and does keep him alive. But T1, I think, took Shirley. Or did anyone?
This game is a hot mess.
Yeah, man.
Atlas, this is...
Am I slow today? I didn't sleep all that well last night, but I was wondering whether I'm slow or whether this game is just weird.
I got it.
Not sure how Effort managed to miss that, to be honest. That was a dredge line that should have probably landed.
Right here, Kana trying to do something, and then Bono taking the kill away from Sohan was also so strange. Really nice dash by Kuz to get onto the other side of Kuro right there, but honestly, everything is just... It's a bit of a... Have you ever had a chocolate mess? Have you ever ate that?
No, I've heard it's good, though.
It is extremely good.
All right.
I'm going to show you a photo of it.
All right, you show me a photo. This is not great, considering the fact that we're not on screen. We can't share it with the viewers, but I'll try and be as descriptive as possible as I find this. First Infernal Drake, in the meantime, is going to be taken here by Kuz on T1's side, and they have basically full map control. 18.5 minutes into this game, a 4,000 gold lead. Probably the best T1 has looked in an early game thus far. One of their better drafts, to be honest, as well, because they have had some trouble with drafting themselves into draft holes. And they've dealt with this Akali quite well in the early game also. As someone has to perfect execution his way out. Won't be able to do that after the next patch.
The thing is KT, they gave away a lot of very small early advantages after such a stable laning phase where Akali was winning in CS, Kuro was winning in XP and CS. And then things just got really random. Bringing over the bottom lane, I mean, Kana, he's going to try to superplex and get away here, and he's going to succeed.
Yep. That's, didn't seem too difficult at all. Creates distance with the ult was quite nice, but did still have to flash, and they take the turret. Base race, 19.5 minutes. So far, Sohan is in the mid lane.
And
T1
are just in such a commanding position right now in this game. You look at the CS gaps now in mid lane. It's currently a 45 CS advantage for Faker over the Cassiopeia. Set is down a little bit, but the Infernal Dragon, and likely to be a second one going over to T1, is going to be giving them a lot of value.
The thing I want to look at, LS, for us, is the fact that Cuz is performing really well today. And what were we talking about? We were talking about Cuz being just a really great pickup for T1.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Cuz, for making us look smart. Because he's having a real good one. He got the worst end of the draft. He was completely focused by KT. Pulls out the Diana pick that Haru made look pretty fantastic, to be honest. But that was on the Hanwha side. Cuz witnessed it and then said, look, you know what? I reckon I can play this one as well. And so far is looking really good. Currently 3-0-2, close to 100% kill contribution, but no one's quite at that point yet. On T1's side, a few sporadic kills around this map. First two key items coming in for aiming though, so we'll see whether he can put them to good use. Teddy deciding to go for the Runar's Hurricane second, adds a whole lot more utility and AoE damage against clumped up teams, and KT's composition is going to clump.
Yeah.
So I like the Runar's being a little bit rushed here, especially if he can hold on to the Gravitum. Right now, he's only got a couple of bullets left in the canister for that one, so might want to exchange for a new gun. Just a Q away from doing that, but wants to hold on to a potential snare.
Well, at this point, the Jarvan, I think he's picking up a Knight's Vow second item, and as you mentioned earlier on, I'm actually really surprised to see him go tank Jarvan.
Yeah, it's so strange.
All things considered, because realistically, there's only two primary carries on the side of T1. It's the Syndra, who you have a little bit of difficulty getting onto, and it's mostly Jarvan and Akali's job to do that. And then the Aphelios. And so, if you go Glass Cannon Jarvan, it doesn't matter if you die, because the sustain on the Akali, Cassiopeia, and the MF are so good against the remaining T1 members without either the Syndra or the Aphelios present.
Yeah.
And so, as long as Jarvan fulfills the role of being a sacrificial lamb,
Flash for flash, and the hook going to come back onto Effort here as well. Stone Plate going to be used, does keep Effort alive for a long time as Moonfall did fly in from Teddy. Don't think that's the name of the ability. Moonshot, that's the one, Moonshot. Didn't find the target though. Bono steals away some puppies and will make his escape. Aiming here just to defend this inner turret while Canna is split pushing on the bottom side. Kuro pushed out top. Total CS pretty high here for Teddy, but aiming, keeping up as now Faker running away. Someone looking for the flank into the backline, finds Faker. Isn't going to be able to get too much more. Shuriken backflip, doesn't find the mark. And now with Bono so low, not going to have too many options. I like the Kindle Gem in Bono's inventory. I want that to be a Warmogs, because Bono just seems to be taking way too much damage this game.
yeah.
And maybe he doesn't need to have as many trips back to the fountain if he picks up that item. I have a feeling, though, LS, that that is just sitting there ready to be a Black Cleaver.
Well,
I've seen Bono play before.
There's no way it's a Black Cleaver, Alice, okay?
It's guaranteed to be a Black Cleaver.
Absolutely.
I want to prepare you for disappointment as quickly as possible.
I'm already disappointed.
Yeah, it's going to be Black Cleaver Stone Plate.
Okay. Great.
Although it could be Black Cleaver Guardian Angel, which I think might actually be better. Because then you know, he may have made the Cinderhawk mistake, but hasn't continued down the line as Infernal Drake number 2 to be picked up from T1. They will be threatening in 5 minutes an Infernal Soul, which is terrifying. For this comp, Teddy does so much damage, and Faker also going to have that ability to one-shot someone, especially with the extra explosive damage. And we already mentioned clumped up KT. You add the Infernal Soul to that, that's even more AoE damage potential.
The other thing about this is T1, it doesn't really matter about if this game is going on for much longer, because the Infernal Dragon is coming up so soon, and they're still going to be in such a commanding position because they have a 4,000 gold lead. They have the two Infernal Drakes amplifying all of the stats. And when you have champions like Diana that gets dual benefit from Infernal Drakes because she auto-attacks a lot.
Yep.
And so even amplification to her AD is really valuable. It's just a lot for this KT team composition to handle at this point, especially when they're spreading resources amongst champions. And the other thing to consider is base levels. You have 1 in mid lane. You have 2 in AD.
Gonna have to use the heal as Bono dives in, but Tenny's turned it around. Look at the chakrams and the massive damage that came out as the dredge line for effort, but straight into the wall, finds the depth charge onto Tucson, but he's got the stone plate, wanting to stay here for as long as possible and buy time, but he's instead just gonna go straight to the death chamber as Kuro gets on top of Cuz, the face breaker from Canna, as he suplexes Kuro right into the back line, and the haymaker for an instant double kill as he picks up the Jarvan as well. So on, gonna be running for the hills, aiming, no front line left to deal with, and this should be a very comfortable Baron for T1 to pick up.
This is going to be a really easy Baron. The Baron's going to essentially convert into the Infernal Soul Capture for free, and so we're looking at this game. T1's team comp, or well, T1 is just way too far ahead, and when they're ahead with the Syndra and the Diana, they have base levels, they have item advantages. These are two champions that they're really oppressive, and it's very difficult for the opponent to stabilize and get back to even footing. And I mean, I have no words for Bono's Jarvan play this game. I really don't understand it. Teammates several hundred to 1,000 range plus away.
I thought that you knew BBQ, because this is BBQ Bono. This is what we came to know and love. And then Bono moved over to Hanwha, and the games got better. We had to change our minds as far as Bono as a player, but this is what we used to experience every game.
Bono's rise to, or his rise up was a lot centered actually around the Xin Zhao Camille meta.
And Olaf.
And Olaf, right. So very sinful champions.
Oh yeah. He was our original mega sinner.
Yeah, along with Malrong.
Oh yeah.
So those are...
yeah, maybe Malrong does deserve the prize.
They are absolutely born in sin.
Oh yeah.
As
T1, they get the Dante Award. They get Dante Award.
They get
for
something.
the jungle.
I don't even... Lucifer Morningstar is here. I don't even know what is going on, but Bono, I mean, he's had several engages where there is absolutely no way his teammates can follow up.
Yeah.
And then the one time where he should have committed really fast and hard in bottom lane, he looked like he was lagging. It was like molasses uphill in January. I have no idea what was going on there.
I don't know whether he did either, because honestly it's felt like he's a little bit off kilter. Saying it nicely. 8,000 gold now the lead for T1 though as they crash down the inner turret. Bottom lane, Inner already fell in the mid lane, and top has a wave stacking up that T1 should be able to go and meet whenever they want to. In fact, that lane state is absolutely perfect for how T1 want to siege this out. They can use the rest of this Baron for a minute's time, and then there should be a huge stack of red dots for them to attend at that inner turret. As Calibrum from Teddy, he's got Crescendum alongside it as well, still playing with a few less bullets on this Calibrum right here. So not going to be able to fit in any Qs as he's switching it around. But that long range certainly going to be there. I believe Crescendum, if you hit the Q on the Crescendum, the turret, if it hits someone, it tags. There it is, Moonlight Vigil does come down.
What are you
Bono
doing?
Diving into the back line. He presses his button on the lantern, but he's unable to actually save himself, as Unleashed Power will follow you. And yeah, this has not been the game for Bono so far. I didn't even notice him going in because it was so weird that he decided to, and I was talking about Ophelia, so it required all of my brain in order to do that. As the hook goes wide there from Tushin, but honestly, there is nothing the rest of KT can do. This has been Bono not quite having the game in him today, and Kuro also with some questionable decisions, but a lot of it had to do with Kuro following up on decisions that Bono was making and then just being made to look silly afterwards. A lot of those teleports in the early game.
He just single-handed. You ready? Are you ready? Here comes the Leroy Jenkins. What teammate on KT can follow? None. There is no one that can close that distance. I don't know what he's looking at.
Do you know what it is? It reminds me of that time when you had like Hecarim was like massive in meta, and he'd be like, guys, I'm going in, and he just canters. He canters majestically up the mid lane, and he's like, I can still get him, guys. I can still get him. He's cantering. He launches himself towards the opponent. He's then onslaught of shadows into the back line, and everybody else is sitting in the fountain, and Hecarim's like in the enemy fountain. You know, that's what that moment was. That's a big shout out to our old mate Sam Broadley from back in OCE. He used to talk about those moments when it comes to Hecarim engages many a time. I believe he's in NA at the moment, assistant coaching one of the teams, but was one of our more famous players for the Chiefs Esports. Bit of OCE trivia for you there, I guess. But yeah, some good times with Hecarim was certainly had. As that inner turret that we were talking about, that wave crashing on down. KT are here to try and meet it though, and the Baron is going to be respawning in 1 minute and 20. And Infernal Soul, as I was having my weird Hecarim rant, was taken, of course, by T1 with full map control. And 10,000 gold in the lead.
All right, well, this is...
Oh, in he goes again. Here we go. Goes Golden, does Faker, he will keep himself alive, uses the heal as well just to make sure he's going to be all right. As Teddy switches to Severum, keeps himself alive there. Don't know whether it was entirely necessary. As so on goes Golden, and Cuz will pick up the kill. Just couldn't quite get there. Got almost every summoner spell that was defensive out of T1. But the Akali pick not working out yet again.
Yeah, this is going to be 2 losses now for Akali.
Yeah, 0 and 2. Why are we even banning her?
Well, that would be result-based analysis. But that would,
is it Elise also result-based analysis? Is that how that is? Because her
I
win
see
rate's
what you did
also
there.
really low.
I see what you did there, yeah.
Also, is MF a terrible champion because her win rate is very low, staggeringly low, and will only get lower as these Nexus turrets fall down. Dredge line goes wide, but it doesn't matter. Effort is absolutely fine. It's just this Nexus that has to fall down. Cuz also does fall, but it doesn't actually matter. The main 50 gold that you get in the game goes over to T1. And they are going to be able to start this series off with a win. Telecom War win number 1 going over to T1. And Game 1 wins were all the KT were good at in Week 1.
And I mean, that was just a really strange Twilight Zone of a game number 1. I have no idea. KT were so stable in good.
Yeah, their
in
early
all of their
laning phase
lanes
was so good.
And then from building Tank Jarvan that game to also just throwing away the entire early game. Jarvan starting the Rift Herald, pulling his bot lane over, making them lose XP, making them lose CS, getting the Herald, never utilizing it. I have no words that are nice.
Yeah, well, do you want me to give you an insight into what the top comment...
give you some antonyms?
I can give you some insight on what the top comment on Reddit is going to be.
Yeah.
It is going to be KT Bono has disconnected, BBQ Bono has reconnected. Because that was, unfortunately, a look back to a lot of his old tendencies that really did not work out for BBQ before they went down to challenges, and then you inherited them.
I just want to preface this. There is nothing defensible about that play.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
We're commentating what's on the screen. And
Yeah.
so...
Oh, no, you don't need to defend
I
that.
don't...
When someone
it
makes a
was
whoopsie,
something.
everyone can see the whoopsie in motion. And that was only a whoopsie. However, the game was largely lost at that point. Not defending Bono necessarily, but that one play would not have changed how this game was going to go because T1 had absolute control. It's great to see this squad that we were expecting to be top 4, for goodness sake, top 3,
yes,
in my opinion. But after Week 1, I was in turmoil. I didn't know where we were supposed to put our, our hopes for Worlds of 2019 after that first week. If they're able to win game number 2 of our first Telecom War, then maybe, just maybe, after a 2-0, we can hope again for T1. Let's find out after the break.
잘만 누구이거든. 잘만 누구이거든.
야 그러면 끝내마다. 얘네 공 없어. 끝내만해. 배트 볼게.
전 들어가도 돼.
카시도 노공이야 거의.
나 괜찮. 자르반 노궁이야 미포랑.
상대 스펠은 다이지플.
다 일단 생각해. 라이브 들어간다 이거.
왼쪽부터
천천히.
오케이.
그래.
카운터라 그냥.
천천히.
그래 4초. 거의 끝났다.
야 미니언 먼저 줘봐. 이거 미니언 먼저 일단.
갈게. 아, 저 죽었네.
점사하자 그냥. 점사.
감사해줘. 전냐 두번 뚫렸는데.
예.
레전드 오브 룬테라의 세계에 오신 걸 환영합니다. 이것은 실력 지상주의 매지컬 세계. 자, 이제 그럼 한판 붙어볼까? 레전드 오브 룬테라.
Welcome to the first analyst task for today, KT versus T1, and we'll be joined by Mina, Kim, Warit, and Lyra for today's analyst task. KT dropped their game number 1 against Telecom T1. So first, let's talk about the draft. So Akali was opened once again, still on 100% pick and ban rate. They all got 3 cards that enables them to get the priority in the laning phase. So they had control of vision in the early game. However, T1, they opened Akali with intention. Because Akali was banned for so many times, well, actually, KT Roaster didn't have much experience playing Akali on the blue side. So T1, as a trade, took Aphelios and Set, which can be better than Akali on the blue side. So, what's your thought on Akali then? Well, we don't have much data on Akali in the current meta, but if you take Akali and let them take Set and Aphelios, I'm not sure whether it's really that much worth it. But for sure, T1 had a very easy pick on Set and Aphelios throughout their pick and bans. So KT seemed a little bit rushing in game. So we want to talk about how J4 died consecutively and how that affected the team to lose the whole game. Since they had the lane priority, well, actually J4 was able to have control all over the vision, especially around the bot side. So they prepared really well for this fight. However, their engagement was not really clean. KT Roaster, because they had a very strong lane picks, they really wanted to make something happen in the early phase. However, J4 got eliminated so fast, so KT Roaster did not manage to get a win over there. So that was a very critical failure. Well, J4 camped all his jungle, he had all the visions. However, in that such a crucial moment, he had to pop his flash, so this snowballed for losing the following bot lane skirmish. T1 already was a little bit ahead in this moment. So as soon as J4 respawned, he ran to bot lane. Well, T1, they had to actually just push lane, and KT Roaster had to clear out those waves in the lane. However, J4 went in too fast when the other laners could not really back up in the best timing. So maybe J4 could just rather go to the mid lane because Kuro was having a lot of priority and he was doing really well during the laning phase. So instead of going to a strong lane, well, Bono decided to gank bot lane 2 times in a row, and 2 attempts did not work well. So that kind of ended up KT Roaster losing their Nexus. Let's check out the POG for game number 1 from T1. It's Teddy on Aphelios, his first POG for the split. He was playing on Aphelios, not dying all throughout the game. He was really good at punishing the mistakes on Bono and also other players as well. His positioning as an AD carry was on point, and also he was really proactive when he had to be. And also the way he initiates fights with Gravitum and also doing damage with other weapons is on point, so he definitely deserves this POG for game number 1. Aphelios is not a guarantee pick for POG, but Teddy's Aphelios was something else this time. So Teddy got 6 votes for this POG, and especially because Aphelios is really hard to survive since he doesn't have any dash skills. Still, Teddy managed to do it really well. Akali, we have to figure out whether it's a trap card or really a pocket pick. So teams on the blue side have to rethink whether they should just take a B1 Akali when it's open. And when they took it, they have to prove it, whether it's worth it. So we'll be happier for the blue side team to get Akali banned. So let's check out how the draft will go for game number 2.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, for the analyst desk translation. Also great to hear the analyst desk being very critical of Bono, because to be perfectly honest, that first game was certainly pro bono. Great content from iKeel on Reddit there. Thank you so much for that one. Certainly a pro bono win, and that is why we're going to have a substitution. Congratulations to Teddy for picking up the MVP. I find it hard to give MVPs to Aphelios because it's hard to know how much he's done until you look afterwards, you know? Like, it's a hindsight sort of factor, but 38% of the damage, absolutely well-deserved, as there is the man on your screen. Coming on in, one sinner to replace another. Malrung, certainly the early game king when he was on Jin Air, and then didn't quite figure out how to finish off any games, but maybe, just maybe, Game 2 is going to be the time. It is theoretically Malrung's Game 1, and maybe that's what's going to help out KT here.
Well, we shall see.
Hirai and Acorn both giving Malrung some tips heading into this one. In fact, you don't often see Malrung smile, but when he sat down there was a bit of a grin on his face. So, hoping that maybe Malrung has got himself into a better mindset. I think a lot of what his troubles were last year were the fact that he was just constantly frustrated. You know, getting his team to a decent position and then not being able to translate that into any victories must have been extremely tough. But this is another guy that we had a lot of criticism for. Kuro didn't exactly pilot his Cassiopeia very well against his longtime rival in Faker. The first time that Faker and Kuro have faced off against one another in 2020 since 2018, right? Like, it's been a really long time since we've had this matchup, I believe. There were no international events where they faced off, I don't think, unless there was one at Rift Rivals. But I'll have to look back to the history books there.
Well,
not sure.
Kuro was doing a completely fine job for the first 10 minutes of the game, but then it just really started to spiral out of control. The bottom lane deficits just started snowballing, and then some of the early team fights and skirmishes just caused chaos and a collapse across all of the lanes, and there was no stabilizing for KT, and then we never really got to see their team composition ever really come online because it was always playing quite a big game of catch-up, as well as the builds were, especially on Cassiopeia, a little bit all over the place. As Cassio eventually went into Rod of Ages with the Seraph's Embrace, and then just holding on to the Null Magic Mantle.
Yeah, that was a bit odd, wasn't it? I didn't actually, because a whole lot of other things were happening throughout that game, I didn't check back to check back in on the Abyssal Mask purchase. Maybe just opting in for the Null Magic for lane, and then was going to eventually turn it into a Banshee's Veil type situation, which would certainly protect you from things like Scatter the Weak catching you out, and stuff like that. Also ruins Diana's Day. She can't mark you, I don't believe, with her Q if it is hit by hitting a Banshee's Veil. So here we are into pick and ban for game number 2. T1 now on our blue side, wanting to get towards a 2-0 win for the first time here in the LCK. There's a 2-1 win and then a 1-2 loss for T1 in week 1.
Palladios being banned away. Interesting, T1 is banning Soraka, even though they are on blue side.
Just shows that Kana does not want to join the Soraka camp. So Aphelios and Set both to leave the Rift now. Wasn't exactly a Set issue in the last game, but Kana did play it perfectly fine.
And we'll see what the final 2 bans are going to be. Is KT going to leave up the Akali?
I have a feeling they might, because just showed that it isn't exactly a priority pick as Misfortune banned. So Teddy finally going to have to dip out of the Misfortune Aphelios camp. He's only played these 2 champions so far this year, as there is the Akali ban.
Lead to a B1 Senna, or are they going to go something along the lines of maybe looking for spots to take even a Kalista? Oh.
Yumi would be odd, but it is on. Thank goodness.
Ornn is going to be picked up. One of the best B1 picks in the game. extremely versatile, able to be flexed into multiple roles, and then obviously his late game scaling is no joke, gifting all his teammates with the ornaments. So KT has to be a little careful here.
And does KT go full sin against the Ornn, or is it something else? Malrung gonna hop on the Gragas, most likely. Tucson is one of our better Gragas players, but it was largely paired alongside Deft and his Kai'Sa play. Aiming was another one of our Kai'Sa players that actually did it relatively well, especially when it was like suicide into the backline, do a massive amount of damage situation. As the Senna is locked in here from KT, so a little bit further will T1 have to dig to find their AD carry. Now I believe it was Aiming that played the Ezreal when presented with this situation last time around. Finally, going to head towards this Senna lock-in. Teddy thinking the Lovers duo might be where we're going. I believe this might even be one of our first Xayahs that we've had. No, we've had 3, but she's only won 1 game thus far. And T1 have played it, I believe. No, they haven't. That's what I was talking about before. Involved Teddy never actually playing anything other than MF and Xayah. So, first time T1 picking this one up in LCK for 2020 Spring. And the Tahm Kench to be paired with the Senna. So hopefully we just don't spend too much time bottom lane. It's understandable. We've seen this all across the world. Senna Tahm Kench. It's what you do.
And so, right now, KT, they do have to be wary against T1, and we'll see what is going to end up being the next 2 bans, because T1 is very wide open with what they can pick so far. They have a lot of versatility inside of their current draft, and KT as well. I mean, with the Senna and the Gragas, they have 2 strong picks themselves. And now, if you're KT, you're obviously looking for a dual flex mid-top lane champion on R4.
Nah, you're looking for a Yasuo.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's Yasuo time.
Well,
Sowan's top lane Yasuo into Ornn, you know? All that armor penetration from the last breath.
You know what? They might just ban it right now. 2 seconds.
Yeah, they could ban it. KT's got another jungle ban to come in. It will be the Diana. Taken away from T1, and there is a jungler that I've heard tell of myths of this beautiful jungler that seems to do way too much damage. And Cuz has been playing it. It was banned in game 1.
It is really good against Gragas. Karthus outpaces him so fast. And so it would actually be really nice to see if KT actually shows their top laner too early here. Could just have a Karthus end up coming in. Alternatively, if the Kiana gets locked in.
Come on.
Okay.
Aatrox.
So, you can have the Ornn go top lane. Ornn does beat Aatrox inside of the lane. Alternatively, send Ornn into mid, pick Gang playing top lane, and Aatrox can't play the game. And then lock in the Karthus to couple it.
Oh, no, Cuz.
They're hovering Olaf. There was a lot of directions to go here, Atlas, and
straight to hell. Unfortunately. And Victor going to be the final lock-in here from Faker, one of the champions that he's played a heck of a lot, and into Kuro a lot of times as well. And Kuro going back to another old favorite in the Zoe. Did spend his time playing it over in the LPL, but a region where there were certainly a lot of very skilled Zoe players.
So, if this ends up going super late game, the amount of mobility and gears available on the side of T1 is just gonna be way too oppressive, but there is a mid-game point where Zoe and Senna in particular can be really obnoxious.
Follow-up on picks is very, very high.
The other thing is that KT, they have 3 losing lanes, and they have a losing jungle matchup, so this is truly impressive. But what's more impressive is that T1 finally took 8 games, but
yeah,
we have a winning draft.
Oh, here we go. Coach Kim gonna take a bow. They're not gonna shake hands, coronavirus certainly something that we're
Is that
going
why?
to try and avoid. Yeah, that's why we haven't had hands being shaken so far. It's not like everyone all of a sudden in 2020 just became rude. It's, I think, just to stay conscious of not wanting to spread as many viruses around, things like that.
All right, well, Ornn, Olaf, Victor, Zaya, and Rakan. It's going to be T1's team composition. They have 3 winning lanes as well as winning jungler matchup. If they lose the early game into mid-transition, something must have horribly went wrong. And KT, on the flip side, they have one chance, one opportunity to win this game, and that is right around when the mid-game starts to take over, and a lot of that is going to be on the back of Zoe and Senna, and see if they can manage to flip something in their favor.
Difficult times here for KT, but they have switched out Bono, they've put in Malrong, and maybe, just maybe, he's going to be able to find an avenue for victory here in this game, but it will need to be an uphill battle in the early stages. Tucson, certainly very comfortable on the Tahm Kench. There was a time where Tucson's Tahm Kench was one of our worst, but really did sort of reevaluate how he plays the champion, and has since been a very, very powerful one. Not sure whether it's the right pick in this instance, but paired alongside Senna seems to be the way that you build this lane. Range advantage going to be there on the bottom side. Senna certainly going to be able to offer a little bit more as far as that range against the Zaya.
And we'll see what Malrong is actually going to be able to do, because I feel like if there is ever a chance for KT to win the early game, it would be on the back of a very sinful Gragas. As T1 now, they're going to move over, they're going to clear out a ward and place down a zombie ward. So that's actually going to be quite valuable in the early stages, as aiming and Tushen not really...
Aiming actually levels the E first. Sorry, W first for the snare. Normally it is the Piercing Darkness that does come down first for extra little bit of lane push, but wanted to guarantee the CC and get into this lane in the right position.
And again, both Victor and Zoe with the Scorch Rune again, and it's so strange. Also, Faker taking heal instead of teleport here on the Victor.
Again. This time Kuro also moving over to that camp.
Well,
our eyes will be on the junglers this
also,
game, guys.
I have no idea why Kana has minion dematerializer up here in top lane on Ornn.
I think it's to dematerialize minions.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I know I'm you know, I'm taking a bit of a leap of faith there, but I
That
have a
was
feeling
yesterday.
That's what it's going. Oh yes, sorry. Alawi no longer in this game.
16-3 on Victor. Is
Pretty
Faker.
good.
I mean, it's all right. 84.2. I mean,
Yeah.
not quite 90, you know.
Oh, that's
That
true.
gets you a B grade, and you know how it is.
Yeah.
A+ or go home.
Not impressed is
Not
what that
impressed.
translates to, guys. As Kenna just going to be giving up a few of these minions. Someone was one of our Aatrox savants in the 2019 season. He played a heck of a lot of it. Actually had some pretty good times. As, there's the first dematerialization. It got Kenna a minion that he would have otherwise not been able to get. Okay?
All right.
It's giving him that cash money.
And so on, not taking advantage of a cheater recall.
I feel like we can give up talking about that now because,
You know what?
like, it's just never happened,
Nope.
and it's probably never going to happen.
Some LEC players call it by that now. Okay.
Oh, really?
And it's starting to be done.
Okay.
Slowly but surely.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Shirley's not for. You know,
Shirley's
she
not
may
for-
not even be here this
Yeah,
week.
good. Shirley's not for a while, but
Yeah. Well, maybe if we can get into some of the comms with some of these teams, we can also help our LCK players learn. Cuz coming on over, going to be able to take down this Rip Scuttle. As okay, a little bit aggressive there from Effort, but goes back, collects himself the Guardian, uses that passive quite nicely, aiming for a bit of damage here. And remember, Piercing Darkness does allow you to get your own health back up. It's a bit of sustain in both of these lanes, given how they both function. We might see a bit of biffo, but it doesn't mean too much.
well, so far everything is going yet again very stable And again, Soan finding the leg up over Kana in terms of the CS department, so this is very strange. Now, it's also a bit interesting, Ornn not building Bramble Vest first item against the Aatrox denies the ability for Aatrox to really trade back against Ornn, and instead rushing straight into the Sapphire Crystal. Now, he builds the Glacial Shroud.
Oh, that is not happening.
Well,
It's going to be Catalyst into Sunfire Cape. Come on.
we can hope.
Do you know?
Okay.
My cup is very half full right now.
I can
But
tell that it is.
it might start moving down to being a third full if it doesn't actually happen. Because if it is a Glacial Shroud, I will be very sad. Oh, Susan actually looking for effort here. Gets the exhaust down, trying to slow him up. There's Teddy very low on mana, but that doesn't mean he's not able to auto-attack. Cuz moving on in here as well as aiming, trying to trade this one back. Cuz just going to help get this lane shoved forward to allow a good back timing here for the T1 bottom lane. Faker might be in trouble now as the Predator was procced. Kuro, he finds the bubble, and they should be able to find this kill as well, as Malrang is stunned up by the gravity field, but First Blood delivered, hand-delivered, on a silver platter. And Cuz also, as a flow-on effect, having to use the flash. KT with a great start in this early game thus far.
And so right now, the Aatrox doing super good up here in the top lane, up quite a bit in the CS department. Also has the lane completely in his favor. You can notice Soan not actually autoing Kana, and the reason for that is he doesn't want to draw minion aggro. So spellcasts that damage the opponent but that don't directly target them doesn't cause any minion aggro.
Yep.
A lot of people still don't know that that change came in. I've seen that comment a lot.
It came in a long time ago
Yeah.
as well, but it was one of those things that was very impactful, but not televised, I guess, very much. Yeah, unfortunately, Faker between a rock and a hard place. The rock being Zoe, the hard place being Gragas. And as that flow-on that we were talking about, it meant that Cuz's flash also now on cooldown. Let's see whether that can be capitalized on as well.
Lost Chapter, first item on Victor in order to sustain inside of this lane. We take a look at the XP points in Kuro and Soan. At the very top.
Here comes the on-horn though. The flash not going to be enough there from Soan as the flash forward. Canna, he really wants this one. And he'll get the searing charge, get the knock-up, and Soan should be going down here. As Tucson, he's going to come in, looks for Cuz. Does have a fair few minions as Malrang's making his way up as well. The Grey Help going to be utilized. Now Malrang, he picks up a Chaos Storm, and Tucson has to flash to get the heck out of there. Cuz grabs the last axe, and that is going to be the one to put the Tahm Kench in the ground. Late teleport to come through from Soan as he has just respawned. Now aiming, gets flashed on.
Well, now he still can't come up to the lane. Effort and Teddy would be able to kill him, and so as a byproduct of this, the teleport needed to get 2 kills in order to be valuable, and then it would require Soan to use his teleport, get some turret plates. And so that didn't end up happening, and so aiming is now suffering from top lane as well.
Now finally able to get back to this lane as Tucson does show back up again with yeah, absolutely nothing to his name. Okay, Effort gonna get licked for now. The Devour able to be used on Effort here, but aiming very far forward. He's gonna heal himself back up. That Piercing Darkness does come in, and KT now set their sights onto Shelly. Shelly will be showing her face this game. Glad we were chatting about it earlier on.
Yeah. He's going to be picked up right away.
And will Malrang use it? Because we had confirmation that Bono just did last game. And kind of catches him right at the end.
Yeah, this was actually a really nice setup by Kana. Soan not able to flash out and dodge it there. Susha, and he comes in here. And this was so strange. You can see he doesn't really know what he wants to do. I don't even know why he's applying the stacks to the Olaf.
I think he thought that Ragnarok was down, maybe.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what he thinks as well.
Because as soon as he managed to stack it up 3 times, that's when Cuz pressed his Ragnarok button, and of course you can't Devour at that stage. He was going into the open maw of the Tahm Kench. In fact, Tucson had clicked the button, but that pops it, of course. So a little bit unfortunate there. Good Bellows Breath from Canna to avoid the knockup.
Ooh, some fancy footwork
Like it a lot. Oh no! Don't look at the items. Just don't look at the items. Don't do it.
Well, Kana is not one of the people on the planet that knows how to build Ornn correctly.
Yeah, well,
you
can't all be one of those people.
Picking up the Frozen Fist so that you can get the 25 armor and extra mana. Mana almost wholly irrelevant. You end up getting the Spellblade and the CDR, but if you're building Ornn right anyway, the CDR difference is negligible. You end up getting 33% in mid-game, having 725 more HP, which then amplifies your magic resistances that you end up purchasing via the Abyssal Mask. So, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So on.
Yeah, another Ornn comes in, and Canna is landing all of these. But Dawning Shadow does fly forward, and now Malrang, unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to help him. Just uses his stopwatch, but he's going to be able to keep it alive. No, messes up Kuro's Battlestar. The flash forward gets a smite there onto Cuz. Don't know why that happened, and he throws his life away.
All right, well, this game has been a bit of a
You're gonna have to break that one down
another
for me,
chocolate mess.
Yeah.
Is what we have going on here. His bottom lane is also just getting torn apart. Faker now going to be able to get a mid-tier 1 turret, and off the reset by Olaf, he should be able to pass to the right-hand side. The bottom lane's going to be resetting as well at the same time as him. Should be able to get Mountain Dragons. We take a look at this one more time. So on, pushed up in the lane, he feels very comfortable with Gragas in close proximity, but unaware that Cuz waiting inside of the brush. Malrang goes golden, and then Battlestar gets completely messed up, so some anti-synergy right here. Kuro flashes forward, tries to get the red smite, not able to do anything. You see Malrang doesn't even know what to do.
Do you think he misread the red smite for an ignite?
No.
I don't know, man.
This was just really bad anti-synergy.
Well, Tucson, I think, might just be dead here, as the quickness is going to try and lock this one down. Grey health eaten, but Teddy, he really wanted to tank up that turret. But effort not going to push any further forward, not biting off more than they can chew, as Cuz topping the damage right now on his early game Olaf performance. He's sinning, but he's grinning, my friend.
Well, Mountain Dragon now gonna be the pickup, and this is a fantastic trade.
Dead? Yeah, he is. But didn't he know that?
I have nothing to say.
Goodness gracious me. Aiming misses the cannon, but Effort picks up some plates.
I think Aiming is now dead as well. He doesn't have flash available, tries to heal, but
Flash Undertow is going to do it. Effort with the Battle Dance and the Grand Entrance just guarantees that Aiming has no way out. Some plates gathered in the mid lane, but this, I don't know, man. All those plates are doing is providing the chocolate mess to everyone else as we have a look at the preview.
Look at this, look at this, look at this.
나 볼게 이거.
He said no flash, no flash, no flash. I think that he was referring to Aiming. Yep. I think that was him trying to tell Cuz right after that clip just ended up expiring. We caught the very end of it. Mountain Dragon was picked up, and like I mentioned, it's a very valuable Drake. Victor eventually going to get Banshee's Veil. Obviously, lots of resistances stacked onto Olaf and Ornn, as well as Rakan. And for a team composition that is all about trying to burst the opponent in one fell swoop, KT does not like even the slightest amount going over. And normally, Mountain Dragon sucks a lot early on, and it comes into play or has a bit of effectiveness once it starts going into the mid to late game. And that's where we mentioned earlier on, Zoe and Senna do try to come online and do things for this KT team composition, but Mountain Drake will play a part in that, even if it is super slight.
I actually just think that this early game going so disastrously wrong is the biggest issue right now. Like, KT was never expected to be this far behind. Like, 3,000 gold is actually pretty decent at 13 minutes and 40 seconds, and they've lost so much control of this map as well. Yes, I mean, 4 plates have been taken down in mid lane, but this bottom lane outer turret is about to fall. As Effort gets booped back, quickness has to be used in the flash. Needing to go out there as well. Dashes to and from Teddy just to try and get his health back. So, that's a big one. Effort losing a big engage tool is now Cuz. He knows that he's got Ragnarok in order to get out of there, and he's an accelerated Olaf. Moving towards, I believe, his Black Cleaver as item number 2. Synergizes well with the Cinder Hulk, of course. that percentage extra health that you gain with an item that has a fair bit of health on it. Will
And
help boost Teddy's damage also.
yeah, they're going to take the second blue away now, and 4,000 gold lead with another Infernal Dragon. This has been potentially the fastest series, right, that we've had so far in 2020, if T1 does manage to close this out early. And honestly, I feel a bit bad for Soan, who 2 games in a row was doing quite good in the laning phase.
Yeah, actually piloting both the Akali and the Aatrox all right, but when the game gets lost around you, it's the classic solo queue top laner feel, you know? There's a reason why that lane isn't super popular in solo queue these days. It's because sometimes it just feels like you don't have a lot of agency. And so on. He's been doing his job. Unfortunately, this is a team game. So when things go wrong elsewhere, it can really be a problem, as so on. Charges that first Q, wants the second one. There we go, the Darkened Blade comes in. Okay, misses everything. And throws down the ult to try and get out and flashes. We gotta stop caster cursing these players, man.
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah.
Shirley gonna be picked up here by T1.
And this is the flow-on effect, right? This is where bottom outer falls down, you have an 80 carry with a 50-odd CS lead. Teleport now towards the bottom side to try and salvage anything, as Tusin's just going to eat the on so that he can't move back the ram. And that's a party cast, because this was a counter that was definitely already dead. KT do manage to successfully dive this one out. Malrung, he was tanking the turret very nicely, and it's a good dive, but what are you losing elsewhere? And the answer is the majority.
You're losing so much, as well as the changes that have happened in Season 10 with shared experience. All of the champions being in that close proximity, sharing the XP on the minions that are dying. They end up getting the turret, but they lose the top tier 1, the top tier 2, and normally I always perceive the top tier 2 as a luxury turret or an economic turret rather than an objective one. Typically, it's not a turret that you actually get until you have Baron buff way later in the game, and so it's a very, very slight amplification to T1's gold inside of this game that they're going to feel comfortable with getting, and we just take a look at how this all transpires. And honestly, it was at this moment Kana probably knew that he was dead.
Yeah, it might have actually been when he was halfway towards that turret that then realized that he had to commit to it, I guess. I don't know.
Tried to stay alive, couldn't really do anything. 35 seconds now until the dragon ends up being captured, likely by T1. And if you're T1 right now,
or Cloud.
Getting Mountain Dragon would be, it would really hurt KT, because you look at Zoe's bubbles, they'll hit you, and then the Paddle Star will want to come out, but...
Well, I've got good news and bad news.
Yeah.
They already have one Mountain Drake, so that's bad.
You're right.
But they can't have more of them.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
That is good, Atlas. I just had a little bit of a whoopsie.
Oh, look, I live my life having whoopsies. It's fine. Totally fine.
I don't know why, for some reason in my head, I blanked that Ocean was the first one captured, but
that's all right.
That's okay. There's only a graphic on the screen that's supposed to help me with that, but, you know, I'm getting on in years.
Well, we're also getting on in this game, as Soan's getting Chaos Stormed, and this is a 2 versus 3 right now, with the Senna's ultimate that was already used, so theoretically 4. Let's add a 5th. As the Trouble Bubble comes down, great flash from Faker to allow the cast to taxi him out, and I think that was a theoretical 2 versus 5 as far as participation that our T1 comfortably handled.
And we're just really going through the motions right now in this KT game, and this series is very reminiscent of the games against Gen G once KT just started to fall behind.
Well, I want to tell you a fun fact, and that is that T1's next match is in fact against Gen G. So if this is going to end how we expect it is, that Gen G versus T1 series is looking more and more spicy. And do you want to know another thing? That is our final match of the week.
Okay.
So it's pretty exciting stuff. You and I will be there on Sunday to bring you that one. In fact, it's a pretty good day that day as well. We've got Damwon versus KT to start that one off.
You know what? You know it's not a pretty good thing? Yeah, Atlas. An Oblivion Orb against magic-resistant stacking team. That's,
yeah.
The math doesn't really Is there a subreddit for he didn't do the math?
I think so.
Is there? Okay. Because I know that there is one for he did the math.
Yeah, but I
feel
mean,
like-
maybe you could just add it to, like, he did the math and just say it was wrong.
Oblivion Orb picked up on the Gragas, and there's nothing, there's no healing to prevent, there's no reason to pick up the Morellonomicon. There's already a Mountain Drake, which is giving slight buffs to the magic resistance, but that's pulling away from the M-Pen that the Oblivion Orb gets, but already in a spot like this, you would either want to just not try to go for Pen and instead just go for utility items, or just pick up the Void Staff and accept that you're not going to be completing it anyway, even if you're 3-4 minutes away.
Yeah.
You're not in a rush. There's no hot date to get to.
Well, you don't know that.
Oh.
There might just be.
Okay.
Who knows? This feels like this, we're going for one of those, like, you know, those blind date situations where you, like, go around and you meet each other for a few minutes.
You know that apparently got very popular in Korea?
Yeah, I think it still happens. Yeah.
Really, yeah.
I heard about it. I don't know whether it's like there's any English support or anything like that, but I know that there was a Korean one a friend of mine did. But yeah, I mean, this feels like this, but T1 just wants to get out. You know, they're done with it, so it's going to be a pretty quick one this time around. We'll see where the numbers are exchanged at the end. Not sure whether we'll be able to report back on that one as Malrung trying to clear out some vision because it's going to find him. Grand entrance is great. And he's only got a broken stopwatch, remember. The flash into the Devour from Tucson, but I don't know whether he will survive. Oh, the body slam to get on out of there. Car's not going to bite off more than he can chew. Everything expended to get Malrung out, but Tucson does hold onto his flash. That is good news.
So we'll see what is going to happen for KT as they got to come up with something. Their team composition is sort of almost at a point where it would start spiking, which would be the Death Dance completed on Atrox. The Forbidden Book is going to be purchased most likely by Malrung. He has that blasting wand.
Yeah, that blasting wand's looking, not so good, isn't it?
And so this is the other thing, that had the 1600 into the Oblivion Orb just been put towards the Void Staff, he would almost have it.
Yeah.
In this game, and instead just going to have a Morellonomicon be picked up here as QSS on Teddy. Absolutely love it. Acknowledges, hey, I'm so far ahead. I have an ornament giving me extra damage as well.
There is no relevant target for the Oblivion or Sork Boot combo to try and aim for, because there's even Merc Treads on Faker,
Yeah,
which should really
I mean, Teddy
put a
has
huge
69
dent in
magic resistance, and anytime the opponent is above 38 MR, you will get more value, or you'll get more magic penetration from Void Staff.
Yeah.
So, well, Cloud Drake going to be up in 20 seconds.
Oh, it is Earth, Wind, and Fire, so I like that. However, Ocean Soul a little bit more exciting, but I don't even know whether we're going to be going to a Soul game. At this
I'm not
point
sure
right
either.
now, we've got a 7,000 gold lead for T1. They are cruising towards Baron control right here. As you saw, KT was spending every resource trying to clear out vision in their red side jungle and still getting pressured. The ornaments, like you were talking about before, are coming in. The Luden's Mega Echo, the really loud one, is going to most likely be completed very soon for Faker, as Canna's going to be moving to level 14. And I believe Teddy just picked up that red buff very nicely as well. So it's going from good to